When most women think about fertility, they picture ovaries, eggs, hormones, maybe the uterus. It's very focused and it's very localized. And that makes sense because that's how fertility is usually presented to us. You go to a doctor, she tests your hormones, she might look at your ovaries and your uterus, and everything is framed around whether these parts are working or not. And this is a really important inquiry which uncovers helpful information, both when things are irregular and when they're normal. But here's what almost no one tells you. Your reproductive system does not operate on its own. Your ovaries and uterus are in constant conversation with the rest of your body, with your brain, your nervous system, your blood sugar, your immune system, your digestion, your sleep. All of these systems are sending signals all the time about whether your body feels safe, resourced, and stable enough for reproduction. So when fertility feels stuck, it's rarely because one organ isn't doing its job, although sometimes that's true. But it's more often because the whole system is responding to what it's experiencing. Like I said last time, I often think of fertility like a tree. The flowers, the fruit, they're the ovulation, the cycles, the pregnancies. And that's what we see on the surface. But those can only exist if the roots are healthy. And the roots are things like nourishment, stress regulation, blood flow, immune balance, metabolic stability, emotional load. When the roots are under strain, the tree doesn't die, but it stops producing fruit for a while. And in our culture, we tend to stare at the tree and wonder, why aren't there flowers? Why isn't there fruit? Instead of looking at the roots and the soil that they're living in. That's really why so many women are told that they have unexplained infertility. Their ovaries may be releasing eggs, their hormone levels may be in range, their ultrasounds may look fine, but something in the system is saying, now is not a good time. And that's something that drives unexplained infertility and is the same something that can drive other fertility challenges that have labels and diagnoses. Those somethings can be one of the following. For some women, it's chronic stress. That's the something that's keeping her nervous system on high alert. And when the body's been living in a constant state of urgency, managing pressure, responsibility, or carrying an emotional load, reproduction can quietly move into the background. Not because the reproductive hormones are broken, but because the nature of the body is that stress signaling overrides reproduction. For other women, that something is unstable blood sugar, and that creates a sense of energetic insecurity in the body. If the body doesn't experience fuel as consistent or reliable, right? If your sugar is bouncing all over the place, then that can affect ovulation, cycle timing, even implantation, even when labs look normal. The body's always asking whether it has enough stable and steady energy to support something as important and demanding as pregnancy. For some, that something is low-grade inflammation. And this doesn't always show up. In fact, it almost never shows up as a clear diagnosis. But it can influence egg quality, implantation, or how receptive the uterus feels. Again, this isn't random. It's the immune system that's responding to what it's been carrying and dealing with over time. For some women, that something is unprocessed emotional load from past experience, personal loss, medical trauma, or long periods of pushing through, even pushing through the fertility journey. Well, that can leave the body in a protective state, even when consciously a woman wants her pregnancy so deeply. This isn't psychological weakness. It's simply physiology responding to lived experience. And sometimes it's not just one of these things. Sometimes it's a combination of several smaller strains, each of which could be manageable on its own, but put together, they're powerful and they block the fertility. And when we only look for one isolated problem, we can sometimes miss how the system is actually responding as a whole. Your body is always asking one question before it commits to reproduction. Is this environment safe and resourced enough to support another life? And that question is answered by every single system operating inside of you, not just your ovaries or your uterus. Unfortunately, this is where many women get stuck. They think, I'm ovulating, I should be fine. But the reproductive system doesn't exist in isolation. It responds to stress. It responds to nourishment. It responds to sleep. It responds to inflammation. So when fertility stalls, it's not because your body has failed. It's because it's adapting to something else in your life. And adaptation looks like survival first, reproduction later. And when you understand fertility this way, as a whole body process, something shifts in how you relate to yourself, and maybe even softens. You stop asking, what's wrong with my ovaries, or my uterus, or my hormones? And you start asking, what might my body be responding to? This shift is subtle, but it's powerful. And it moves you out of self-blame and into curiosity. And curiosity is where healing begins. If this way of thinking feels new or even unsettling, that's okay. Most of us were never taught to see our bodies this way. But once you do, a lot of things start to make sense. Symptoms become information. Patterns become clues. And instead of feeling like you're fighting your body, you begin to feel like you're learning your body's unique language. If you want help beginning to notice what your body might be responding to, I've created a simple, grounded guide that supports that process. You'll find a link to it below. And as we continue, we'll unpack how stress, blood sugar, inflammation, and hormones weave together, not so that you can control your body, but so that you can understand it. Because when you understand what your body is responding to, you can respond back with support instead of pressure. Join me in the next video where we'll unpack how your cycle has been communicating with you all these years. In closing, I'll leave you with this. Your body isn't broken. Your symptoms aren't random. And fertility doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to support. Take this as an invitation to listen to your body more gently, more compassionately, and more purposefully. Your body is wiser than you think.